Good morning and welcome to the new episode of Dr. Lamba's Awakening Call. We in this world, in our life, are often more interested in things which are either important but not urgent, or we are confused with the cacophony and ignore important, imperative, and even urgent things and are involved in those things, concerned about things which are either not material or have a very transient life. Now look at oil. All the time, people have been talking that oil is the future. It used to be called the black gold, but the new concepts, not necessarily that I agree with them, that fossil fuels are a scourge, are something to be detested, not something to be cherished, have reduced the utility and the beneficial effects of oil. Canada, especially, has been deemed to be a very lucky country that is the largest reserve of oil. But what is the benefit of that reserve which you cannot exploit commercially for the good of the people? And that's exactly what has happened. Now, looking at the things as they are, the changed political correct attitudes, the changing modes, the emphasis on the renewable energies, and the green sources of energy make oil not a preeminently useful economic tool. So, what is the thing which can be salvation of a country like Canada? It cannot be oil. As I said, oil has lost its core, rather what they call it, black gold status. It's no longer gold. It's not even, I'll say, silver or copper. It's being used, but the days are limited, and those nations which are far-sighted realize and look forward. They find ways to find the new alternatives, and the new oil substitute, which can be salvation of Canada, is food, agriculture. Let's not forget that it's agriculture and not artificial intelligence that will secure Canada's place in the post pandemic world order. Now, I know when you hear me talk about that, you might feel that I'm not talking about, but I foresee things which people ordinarily ignore. I think put things in a proper perspective after looking at that in a kaleidoscope. Canada could yet breed a stable of unicorns that could show the wild success of Shopify. That's not fluke. But smart, better would be not to put money in that. There's too much of risk. History argues against it, and landscape has been already dominated by the better players. It would be like a Wagger or betting on Toronto Maples getting the first round in the Stanley Cup, which is not possible. But if not the digital technology, you might ask, what might make Canada make a mark in the post-pandemic world, which is full of angst over the climate and ability of the USA and China to get along. Now, Canada is a very unfortunate country from one point of view, that its outlook is decided, its destiny is decided by the country south of it, USA. It was going to earn heavily, but the pipeline was stopped by the president. So if the president in favor of Canada, he can make it a heaven. If the president of USA doesn't like the style of the Prime Minister of Canada, then Canada is in trouble. So why not do something independent of USA? Why depend on USA? For oil, we need pipelines, and we cannot have pipelines till USA is benign and kind enough. Digital technology, yes, but then can we compete with China? Are we USA? So what's the way out? food. Artificial intelligence will get you all the media attention, all the press. But agriculture holds more promise since it's perhaps the one industry in which Canada will have obvious competitive advantage in future. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking of tomorrow. I'm talking of 30 to 50 years to 100 years hence. For one thing, what's happening is, which people are ignoring, that this climate change is going to be a boon for Canada. The present growing season, cultivation season in Canada is just 100 days. You grow for 100 days, and then for the next up to 65 days, you don't grow anything. But as the climate change takes place, this season of 100 days might extend to 120 days, 130 days, 140 days, going up to 160 days. And even the winter would become more amenable to growing. It would not be that frosty, it would not be that icy. And the result would be that the agriculture in some parts of Canada, which is impossible today, would be there. So our reputation for being nice might ultimately become an advantage in global business because the person who buys dinner attracts all the people. And if the people distrust you, they don't buy from you. That these are two things. A, people are always happy to buy food. That's the first category, first thing. And then we know that hunger is going to be the major problem of the world with a growing population, reduced land. We need more food. So Canada has an opportunity. Now, becoming one of the world's primary sources of food might even be enough to give you a say in the way world is to be run. You might have more say. Today you give foreign aid, which as a party changes in power in that country where the aid is received, you lose all contact. Secondly, most of the aid goes to the pockets of the dirty politicians. But when you are having food and you give food, sell it rather. People are going to depend on you. India's rise has been because of the Green Revolution and then the White Revolution. So Canada can have the benefit and become a primary source of food, which would make you acceptable, which will make you people hear you. They'll listen to you. Now, China controls about 9% of the world's land, which is fit for growing, arable land. But it has to feed 20% of the population. Now, suppose you become a supplier of the food to them rather than importing food to them. Isn't that great? 20% of the population depends on 9% of the irrigation land. So it's going to need some help and it might be taken seriously because you're going to give nutritious food. The food is a new oil. As a matter of fact, most of the world has not realized it as yet. But then that's the beauty of the innovative mind that you realize something which others have not realized. There's an agriculture economist at Cornell University, Christopher Barrett. He, on May 11, was attending a virtual conference hosted by KP. And he was enthusiastic. He says that if China and USA are the nuclear powers, Canada can be a agri-food power. And it can come up in a short time because it is content to grow raw ingredients and ship them elsewhere for processing. And that is where the value is created. So what happens is you grow pulses, but you don't process them. You grow canola, but canola is limited. Food processing is controlled, whatever is there, whether it's Haynes or others. They're controlled by USA. So grow food, and process it and send the processed food. Processing means value addition, and that will make you country. Now, another thing you cannot forget is without food security, you don't have anything. The Canadian government needs to be more strategic. And food today and agriculture today is more like a system. It's not something which you grow. You have got to see which products grow. Now, what's the problem with India? They are growing still wheat and rice, while they should grow in for the other crops which are ecologically friendly. So, strategic thinking means breaking down the silos. We are so brought up in an atmosphere in a way to think oil is the only thing, A. Minerals are the only thing, B. Well, we are great, we give it. No, break down the silos. Let's come to the reality. Multiple thinking is required at diverse levels and then a combination of that thinking. What is happening today is that our food is looked after the agriculture minister. We have got to look at it as a composite national priority. And multiple ministries, trade, commerce, even defense, and foreign affairs should be involved in it. So the various farm lobbies need to get over the jealousies and work together. The same applies to the processors, grocers, transportation companies, universities, colleges, because research and development is an engine of innovation. Can you believe India was famous for mangoes? And today Japan is growing a mango which sells for about $4,000 one mango. In Indian currency is about 2.75 $100,000. Imagine it. Rupees, I mean, sorry. Imagine 400,000 rupees for one single apple, and that's Japan's innovation. Why cannot Canada do something like that? Or India even itself can do something like that. We have not done it. Look, today global commodity market is stuffed with the Canadian cereals, which are good for our environment. The only thing is the value addition is not there. Secondly, the effort has to be anchored in the goal of neutralizing carbon pollution. Today, as I've always been saying, agriculture is responsible for about 10% of global emissions. However, there's an advantage to Canada, and that is that the Canadian farmers or processors are basically more green. And here, the contribution to carbon pollution is 8%. So you get the carbon credit as well. So part of the solution to climate change, given them just a comparative advantage, as the world's biggest economies try to meet net zero goal. Now imagine, look at the tragedy. You have excellent salmon, you have excellent pollock, you have excellent, and who is farming it? Not Canada, but China. China's motherships come, harvest the fish here, process it, and then send back to you with value addition. Then anything be more stupid? Now, of course, the various agriculture ministers, farmers, and processors are not able to take advantage of this opportunity. They need the support of commerce and the trade ministry and the foreign ministry. What is needed is our new trade policies which back open commerce. What Canada has been doing is tit for tat protection. Now imagine, suppose USA said as in the time of Trump 20% duty on cars. We say fine, we'll give you 20%, but we impose 30% duty on maple syrup. And 80% of the demand for the maple syrup comes from USA. You don't use that much of maple syrup as the USA changes usage. The same is about the other things. You can be world leader in lentils, pulses, chickpeas, which are a craze today. So that policy has to change. And if the connection to the environment is not obvious, consider what would happen. Now put up yourself this scenario. Look at the word picture. G7 is opposed to China. I suppose a trade war takes place between China and G7 that makes the former China purchase all its grain from Brazil. And Brazil is a country which doesn't care two hoops for the climate change. It has been destroying its rainforest to make room for the farmland. They said, no, we agree, we need money, we need agriculture, so they have destroyed the rainforest. About 30% of the rainforest has been removed to make the land available for agriculture. Canada doesn't have to do that. And this need of China for food, in case of a trade war, Canada can supply food which is ecologically, environmentally acceptable. So global commodities stuff with Canadian cereals would be accepted being green. And that is the USP that needs to be advertised and exploited. Now, what is required is farmer would need to be the cutting edge of innovation so that they would get easy access to the newest research and technology. That means government would reinvest in extension services. Since 1990, the budget cuts have been there. They have to be removed. And the final piece would be why Canada has created a few globally significant companies. These are processors who generate most of the value. So the industries should be asked to start processing here. And the processing can be done right on the farms. There has to be integration of processing and growth. As a matter of fact, they should be integrated. Why should a third company like Haynes or somebody else, Hunt and Haynes, all American, come here, process it, then sell it back to you? That doesn't make sense. So, what is required? Now, imagine processing not only gives you leverage, there's little evidence that agriculture establishment in Canada is far removed from the concept of processing. Now, look at the dairy industry, which is a part of the food industry. It suffered consecutive blows in the years because the government stupidly was making space for more dairy imports to gain admission into trade agreements with the European Union and 10 Indian Asian nations. Why? You say, okay, we don't need your dairy. We have our own dairy. Why should I import cheese from Scandinavian countries or from New Zealand? We can export it. So beating appeared to persuade the public servants for other benefits. We need more cars. So, okay, we'll get them from USA, from Germany. Why? We are permitting lobbyists and the politicians to set the parameters for Canadian highly regulated dairy industry. Can you believe it? The milk, the farmers told you can only produce so much of milk. If they have more milk, destroy it. Why not process it? And then send the processed milk, either sell it or give it as an aid. Giving milk as an aid, powdered milk or cheese or whatever, is more beneficial than giving the hard cash. When the North American Trade Pact, NAFTA, was signed, promise was to set up a working group that would charter a path forward to help the dairy industry. Till today, no action has been taken. Group was set up, but the recommendations, nothing, guilt, nada. People, politicians especially, happen to blame the circumstances. I remember the president of the Dairy Farmers Association once saying that talks were interrupted because of 2019 election. Now, why should the elections be an impediment for the national need than pandemic? And the delays have not stopped people. The blueprints are there. So hopefully, patience does not lead to more inertia. Canadians are by and large, let me be very frank, very straight people. They suffer from a lot of inertia. And to some extent, this inertia can be deadening. It is killing. So, this is a rare opportunity for Canadian agriculture industry. This is an opportunity which, if Canadian leadership, Canadian agriculturists, and industries are sensible enough, they can exploit and become the world leader. They can become the world leader in pulses. They can become the world leader in fruits. They can become the world leader in dairy industry, and they can become the world leader in the meat industry. What more is left? You are sitting on a gold mine, rather I'll say platinum mine, and you are not making full use of it. You're simply talking about gold, which is on the way out. Think of food, the new coal, the new oil. Don't think of oil today. Think of agriculture. And agriculture will lead you to become a real world power, and then you will not get a mercy either of France to be member of G7 or of USA or of anybody. As a matter of fact, people will nominate you to Security Council instead of you spending millions of dollars. But who will tell the politicians? I hope they wake up, utilize this opportunity, and make this country really rich with the excellent natural resources it has, combined with ingenuity, innovativeness, foresight, strategy, and become a leader. Leader in your own right rather than by the sufferance and the permission of others. Thank you.